Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Saturday. In this video, we are looking at the NBA slate for tonight. We have 6 games starting at 8 o'clock tonight, so a bit of a later start. Get yourself an extra hour to kind of prep before tonight's action. We have a couple of big injury news. John Morant and Damian Lillard have both been on the same slate of games this week, so both guys are out. So we can't look to the value on both teams. We still have some other news that we can talk about, but nonetheless, let's get started. As always, if you enjoy the videos, appreciate it if the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. This week's not been going as good as last week. Last week was amazing. This week's slates have, well, personally for me, they've been rough. I don't know if you guys have been having success, but hopefully we can end it on a good note. Football tomorrow, which has an awesome slate, and there's so many good plays on NFL tomorrow. Can't wait to break that down. But let's get started with today's NBA action. At the point guard position, you have 3 guys above 11,000: Luka, Steph Curry, James Harden. Luka is on a back-to-back. They lost last night against the Pelicans after winning in New Orleans last game. So they are going up against the Grizzlies, whose defense is still at the bottom of the league average. They're coming off big wins, the Grizzlies are. They had the biggest win in NBA history last game. And before that, they played well against the Raptors and shut their offense down. But they're still at the bottom of the league in a lot of these defensive categories. I think going to Luka today makes some sense because people might not play him after what he did yesterday. And there's just so much value on the slate. You have multiple guys that are in the 3 to 4K range that are looking like guys you just want to have in your lineup. So I think Luka is going to be one of the better spend ups now that Giannis is doubtful. So he's like the only guy. Him, Steph Curry, there's a couple of pieces. Curry's 11-4. He's still averaging less fantasy points on the season than Luka by a little bit. He's had the bigger blow up games. He had like an 80-point game at one point. He has also a lower floor, I'd say, than Luka, like a 23, but that's on his worst shooting performance. Both of these guys are on a back-to-back. Both didn't play huge minutes. Yesterday, Steph played 33, Luka played 35 as his normal average. But coming off of a loss, I think they'll try to push Luka to play more minutes. They're at home, which is always a good sign for a star player getting some more minutes at home. Both these guys are at home. Both have good matchups, but I slightly prefer Luka over Steph Curry, and then Harden would be third on that list. He just hasn't been as consistent as these other guys. The price tag is in the similar range, unless like something happens with Kevin Durant. Not really seeing myself getting to James Harden over Steph or Luka. DeJounte is 10-1. He's always in that interesting price range. He's fine on tournaments, but in cash, I'd probably try to prioritize the top 2 guys here. CJ is 9,000. He's expensive now. His price tag keeps going up, even though he hasn't been producing really without Damian Lillard. He had one decent game with 48, but last game they got blown out by the Spurs. Now they're going up against Boston. It's at home. I think he's a good play, but 9K is still a big price tag. You need 54 for 6X, which is going to be somewhat tough, I'd say. You have De'Aaron Fox at 82. He's always a good tournament option. I haven't been playing him much at all this year. Last year I was playing him so much because he was so productive and he never was getting that much love. But this year, he just hasn't been the same player. Nothing's really been going right for him. He's had 1 or 2 good games. Like good games, I mean like over 50, not counting a 3 overtime game. Like in regulation, he's really struggled to hit value. I don't want to force him in there when I have some other good plays. You have Drew Holiday without Giannis, who looks like a pretty good value. He's in 77. I'd probably like Drew Holiday more than $9,000 CJ McCollum. I like Kyle Lowry a bit. Tyler Hero struggled once again in terms of just fantasy. He had a decent game shooting, 7 of 16, but 3 of 4 from distance. Duncan Robinson was red hot, and Kyle Lowry was red hot, so it wasn't like Tyler Hero had to go out and shoot 20-plus times like he normally does. Now going up against Milwaukee, they give up a ton of threes. This is a spot where I do like going back to Tyler Hero and thinking that he can have the hot hand today, hopefully. So he's still as one of the top guys that I'm looking to target. I like Hero more than Kyle Lowry. I like Hero more than Lonzo at 72. Derek White's had a string of good games. He's interesting because Devin Vassell is out tonight. So a couple of extra minutes for Derek White. He was on pace for another big game. He only played 30 minutes. He looks appealing at 66 for our tournaments. Other plays at point guard, you can go down to, well, it looks like Jaylen Brown will probably be back today after resting on a back-to-back situation. So not that interested in Smart or Shooter. They're at decent price tags, though. Going further down in the below 5K, you have Brunson. If Porzingis is out once again, he can get you 30-plus minutes. Kobe White is still out, and looks like Caruso is questionable. So hopefully Caruso plays. If he doesn't, then you're going to get some more value out of whoever starts in Chicago. But one of the better value plays right now we have is Dennis Smith Jr. He should start in place of Anfernee Simons, who started in place of Damian Lillard. Both their first and second string point guards are out. Dennis Smith Jr. just played 19 minutes. It was a blowout. He was also in foul trouble with 5 fouls in 19 minutes. He's not, like, you're not expecting him to go out there and drop like 40 fantasy points, but high 20s, low 30s fantasy point is definitely doable if he's giving high 20s in minutes, which not having either of their point guards, I think Smith can get some extra minutes today. And McCollum can also shift over and play some point guard as well, but I think Smith will get good minutes, and at 34, he looks like a really good value pick. Moving on to shooting guard. Yeah, McCollum at 9K, Levine at 89. They're both kind of expensive. I prefer getting to Middleton or Tyler Hero, saving some money there. The 6K range, you have Derek White, who looks pretty appealing. Buddy Hield struggled the last couple of games shooting. He's down to $5,900. Still no Harrison Barnes for them. At the bottom here, Duncan is coming off of a great game, 7 of 11, but he got 29 fantasy points, and 24 of those were from score. Actually, 26, counting the 3 points made, were from scoring. He's really not getting you any peripherals, so I probably don't like playing guys like that just you need them to get red hot shooting to really hit their GPP ceiling. Terrence Davis is $3,500. He looks great. He's been starting in place of Harrison Barnes, and he's been really productive. So he looks like a great value play at 35 if you wanted to play him and Dennis Smith, or you can play him instead of Dennis Smith if you're not feeling him. But I'll go back to Tyler Hero. Hopefully he comes through today. If he doesn't, then I'll probably be done with him until Jimmy's back. Small forward, Kevin Durant is 11.3. He's expensive. Paul George has a Q tag, quote unquote, but they said he tweaked his ankle. He's hopeful to play. I hope he does play. If he's out, then you can go back to these Clippers guys. We just had the same exact situation with Paul George resting against the Kings, and none of the Clippers guys came through. They got blown out by Sacramento. Hopefully that doesn't happen again today if Paul George is out. Harrison Barnes is doubtful. He's 55. Whenever he does happen to play and his price tag is still at that range, he would look appealing. But you got to go Norman Powell here at 52. He's so cheap compared with not having Damian Lillard, not having Simons, not having Nasir Little, I believe, was still out. The entire team just played really poorly. He just shot just 3 of 13. He still got to the line 8 times. He's going to be aggressive, looking for a shot. He can get red hot from the floor, even get red hot from 3. Overall, he's been a very good shooter on the season, so the last game was just an anomaly. I put it like that. Good spot, somewhat good spot. Boston's been mediocre defensively this year, but at least they're at home. Portland's been they've only lost 2 games at home all year, so I don't mind going to these guys, especially with Boston on a back-to-back after just playing in Utah. They played them tough, but so they could have some tired legs there. So Powell looks really good at that price tag. You have Martin as a value pick from Miami with them not having Jimmy or Bam still. Strus looks decent, but I'd rather go Terrence Davis at the bottom. At power forward, Giannis is doubtful. Durant, he looks like the only healthy guy in this range. DeRozan looks appealing at 91. He's just been so good all year for the Bulls. What a pickup he was in the offseason. He's given them exactly what they need. They already have their 3-point shooters in Lonzo and Zach LaVine. He's given them an elite mid-range specialist, and he's been an assassin in the mid-range. Almost all of his production comes from there. He's shooting really effectively because he's not taking a ton of threes. He gets to the free throw line. He gets some of his peripherals. Plays monster minutes in close games. Against Brooklyn here, he put up 39 in 34 minutes. Was solid out there. Could have even a better game. Brooklyn's on a back-to-back as well. For now, go ahead and plug him in. The price tag is somewhat high, but I don't want to get to Tatum. Now that Brown should be back. And then you have some elevated price tags on Jaren Jackson. I think Bobby Portis does look appealing, but these guys are all above 7K, so they're not super affordable, and I think they'll get a ton of ownership. But Portis would look appealing just because there's no Giannis, and he will get almost all the center minutes. They also have DeMarcus Cousins. Morris, $4,700. He had a great shooting game last night. He could sit out for rest after playing 33 minutes, so if they don't have him or Paul George, then things would get interesting from the Clippers' perspective, so keep an eye on that news. Maxey looks good if there's no Porzingis as a good value. Covington is only 38. He's very affordable, and then Santi Aldama broke the slate last game, played 28 minutes. A lot of the starters barely played for the Grizzlies. Dylan Brooks played 15 minutes. The bunch of the starters barely played in the second half, but so you got extra minutes. But they have Vernon Clark is questionable. If he misses, then maybe Aldama gets in the low 20s in minutes. At center, top end, you have Vooch at 94. You have Jaren Jackson at 76. He's been really productive just in terms of shooting the ball very effectively, and he's been getting you a lot of blocks. He's still very risky for fouls. 5 fouls in 3 straight games before that huge blowout win against OKC. He put up 20. In just 20 minutes, he put up 42 fantasy points. It's hopefully Porzingis. You probably want Porzingis not to play because Porzingis can draw more fouls than Maxey. But right now, I'm looking at like Jakob Poeltl. Poeltl and Rashawn Holmes both at really good price tags. I like Poeltl against the Golden State Warriors here. He just gets you good minutes. He's effective shooting the ball at the basket. Don't even want to look at his free throw percentage. He's shooting under 33% from the free throw line, which is super scary and not very good at all for a center. Even centers typically don't shoot the ball very well from the free throw line, but 32%. Worst case, you should be at 50%. That is just terrible. Hopefully, he improves on that, or else teams are just going to foul him and force him to get his points at the basket. At the free throw line instead of at the basket. But for now, at the given price tag, he does have 40-point upside. I don't mind taking a shot with him. So Jakob Poeltl looks pretty appealing. If you wanted to go cheaper at center, you do have Dedmon at just 37. So maybe we can go Dedmon instead if you wanted to just go with a cheaper value pick. I don't know why his price tag is down to 37. Makes no sense. He was 48. That's probably fine. That's where he should be. And then all of a sudden went back to 37. It's not like Bam is returning anytime soon. He's out for 6 weeks. There's no Jimmy Butler still. Just a complete misprice on DraftKings end. So I still like Jakob Poeltl, but if you want a guy that can get you 8x upside, you can go with Dedmon. And now you'll be able to pay up. There's so many good value picks. You have Smith, Dedmon, you have Terrence Davis. You have a couple of other guys in the 3K range like Aldama potentially. So I'll be able to get up to Luka. Hopefully plays well tonight. 51, or he's averaging 51 fantasy points. It leaves you with 48.50, so plenty to spend on your last 2 spots. And you have some studs in here with DeRozan, Luka, Hero. You have some good value with Dennis Smith and Dedmon. So that's about it for the DraftKings side. Let's talk about FanDuel. So on FanDuel here, point guard plays. You have all these guys in the 10K range instead of the 11K range. Steph, Harden. Luka is the cheapest at 10.5. He looks really appealing. You have other good value picks like De'Aaron Fox at 78. Kyle Lowry's underpriced at 66, not having Butler or Bam. He looked very good yesterday at 65. He looks a similar amount today at 66. You have Reggie Jackson at 57. If there is no Paul George, he would look like a great value pick. And then at the bottom, you have Tyus Jones, 5K. Probably like Dennis Smith more for $600 less. At shooting guard, you can plug in Luka Doncic at 10.5. You have McCollum better priced at $8,200. DeRozan looks good at 86. You have both of these Bucks players, Jrue Holiday and Middleton. I like Middleton slightly more just because he's $500 cheaper, but Middleton's not been as good as Holiday this year. You have Tyler Hero as well. Shooting guard is pretty loaded on FanDuel, and then even the value guys, you have Dylan Brooks is very affordable. Just a couple of bad spots, a couple of things you couldn't really expect happening. You got into foul trouble 2 games ago, and then last game they won by 73, so he played 15 minutes. So things that you wouldn't expect to happen. Hopefully Dylan Brooks goes back to playing like 30-plus minutes tonight. Without John Moran, you should be looking at 30-plus fantasy points if he's given his full minutes. But Terrence Davis is too expensive on FanDuel. I'd rather go up to like Dylan Brooks, or you can go down to Norman Powell at 54. So many good value picks at this position. Going over to small forward, you have a couple of other guys you can pay up for. Kevin Durant would be the guy. Paul George, if he plays at 92 or 91, looks appealing. I like DeRozan, Tyler Hero, but the value pick right now has to be Powell. Also have Andrew Wiggins at 57. I like Wiggins more than probably Terrence Mann, but he healed Terrence Davis. Dylan Brooks, I like him more than Andrew Wiggins though. But Powell at 54 looks very appealing. If you're not going to be able to, or if you don't want to get to McCollum, you might as well get to Norman Powell. One of the two is probably going to have a good game today, if not both of them. Power forward, you don't have Giannis, he's doubtful. You have Kevin Durant at 10.8, looks fine against Chicago. Jaren Jackson gives you big block upside, he's $7,200. But Bobby Portis at 64 looks like the one Milwaukee guy that I want to get to on FanDuel at least. You can make a case for the other two, but Bobby Portis is too cheap. given his power forward center eligibility, he's going to play big minutes at the center position, getting a lot of rebounding opportunities. And the matchup is fine against Dedmon, who shoots some threes. At center, Vooch is 92. Looks fine if you wanted to get up to him. Right now, I have Jakob Poeltl in here at 63. Dedmon is 58, so I'd rather get to Jakob Poeltl than Dwayne Dedmon. Dedmon looks way better on DraftKings at only sub 4K, and you don't have any other center that looks that appealing. Metu is somewhat expensive now that Bagley is back. Adams is 54. He's pretty expensive. Zubac's not getting much discount on these guys. So basically looking at the guys above 6K, so you have Bobby Portis, Jakob Poeltl, Nurkic, Jaren Jackson looks like some of the best picks. And that's about it for the video. So hopefully have a good night tonight. Hopefully these guys come through. If there's any updates, I'll tweet them out on Twitter. Thank you for watching. Best of luck tonight, and I'll see you all next time.